Welcome to IRAC Mastery Lab. Most first-year law students think the exam is a memory test. They read 600 pages, they memorize the black letter rules, and then they freeze on the page when the clock starts. I know because that was me. Then I stopped studying the way I was told to, and I built a system instead. On my torts final, I scored in the upper quartile, 125.5 out of 200. This is the system. It is called IRAC, and by the end of this, I want you to see it the way I do, not as a writing format, but as a way to think. Full disclosure, I did not invent the IRAC format, but I invented the system that I'm about to teach you. IRAC stands for Issue, Rule, Application, Conclusion. Every legal argument you will ever write runs on those four moves. You spot the issue, the legal questions buried in the facts. You state the rule that governs it. You apply that rule to the specific facts in front of you, and you reach a conclusion. That is it. Professors, judges, practicing attorneys, they all think in this structure whether they name it or not. So legal writing is not about sounding smart or using big words. It is about walking your reader through those four steps so cleanly that your conclusion feels inevitable. When your writing feels messy, it is almost never a vocabulary problem. It is that one of those four moves is missing or out of order. Here's where most students lose points: the application step. They state the rule, then they restate the facts, and they think they are done. They are not. The real work of legal analysis is the inference, the bridge between a fact and a legal conclusion. A fact by itself means nothing. You have to show what it means. If the rule requires intent, you do not just say the defendant acted. You point to the specific fact and you draw the inference from it. He locked the door behind him, which shows he meant to confine her. That word shows is the inference. That is the analysis. Picture the facts on one side and the rule elements on the other. Your inferences are the bridges connecting them. A student who only lists facts is describing. A student who draws inferences is arguing. Only one of them gets the points. There are two engines running underneath all of this, and knowing which one you are using makes you sharper. The first is deductive reasoning. You start with a general rule, you apply it to a specific set of facts, and the conclusion follows necessarily. All contracts require consideration. This agreement had no consideration. Therefore, there is no contract. That is deduction, and it is the skeleton of every IRAC you will write. The second is inductive reasoning. That is when you look at a series of specific cases and pull a general principle out of them. It is how the common law is built, and it is how you argue by analogy. You take a handful of cases where courts found a duty of care. You show that your facts look like those cases, and you reason toward the same result. Deduction applies the rule. Induction builds it and defends it. Strong legal writing uses both. Induction to establish what the rule should be, deduction to apply it to your facts. Now, the part that changed how I write. IRAC is recursive. It nests inside itself, like a set of Russian dolls. On the surface, you have one big issue. Say, is the defendant liable for negligence? That is your outer doll. Your top level, IRAC, but open it up. And the rule for negligence has four elements: duty, breach, causation, damages. Each one of those is its own issue with its own rule, its own application, and its own conclusion. Each element is a smaller doll with its own conclusion and with a complete IRAC inside of it. And you can go deeper, open up causation, and it splits into actual cause and proximate cause. Two more dolls, each with its own full analysis. This is the move that separates top quartile answer from an average one. The average student writes one big blurry IRAC. See where I'm going with this? And that is the whole question. Strong students sees the nesting and runs a clean, tight IRAC at every level. Once you see the dolls, you cannot unsee them. And your writing organizes itself because the structure is already there in the law. That's it. So here's how you actually run it under exam pressure. First, before you write a single sentence, you read the fact pattern and you route. Every fact goes to an issue. If a fact does not attach to an issue, either you are missing an issue or that fact is a distractor. Second, for each issue, state the rule from memory, not a paragraph, just the elements clean. Third, go element by element and apply using the inferences we talked about. One fact bridged to one element at a time. Fourth, conclude and move to the next doll. Let me show you fast. A neighbor is stung by a defendant's backyard bees and sues. You route. This is strict liability. And it has two separate tracks, the animal track and the abnormally dangerous activity track. Animal track, the rule. A domestic animal only triggers strict liability if the keeper knew of the dangerous propensity, and then you apply. Honeybees are domestic, and there is no known propensity here, so that track fails. Conclude. Close the doll. Activity track. An activity, the rule, is not abnormally dangerous if it is a matter of common usage. Then you apply. Hobbyist beekeeping is common usage. So that track fails too. Conclude. 2 clean dolls, 2 clean results in under a minute of thinking. You're not just writing an essay, you're running a checklist of nested logic gates. When you work this way, the emotion drains out of the exam because it stops being a blank page and becomes a sequence of small, solvable problems. That is the whole trick. You're not smarter than the other students. You're just more organized than the panic. So, in conclusion, that is the system. IRAC is not a format you fill in. It is a way of thinking that mirrors how the law actually works. Spot the question, state the rule, bridge the facts to the rule with inference, and conclude. Over and over at every level of the problem. Master that, and you stop reading 600 pages and hoping. You start processing the fact pattern in front of you, the same way every time. All right, if this helped and you want to work through your own fact patterns like this, follow me for more. And I will leave you with this simple thing to keep in mind when you're taking your tests. Spot the patterns, ship the answer, reclaim your weekend. Thank you.